La 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 la, Bloomies. We are silly and frilly for everybody. End of discussion.
Just barely. Just
Bloomies. Welcome to Bloomieland.
Creating chaos.
So today I'm wearing the weenies. The original weenie.
For some contrast, I'm wearing the balloonies, which is obviously the original version of the weenies.
Oh,
so they
the weenie.
have the same exaggerated shape here, the Pixar mum kind of shape, but the weenies are just weenier.
This week we are talking about the ins and outs of manufacturing. As a small business, I think that is such a kind of scary thing to think, obviously there's so much out there in the world, and so when you're going to be producing more, it's just it can be very, very daunting. It's what model are you going to choose? Yes. How are you going to go about it? So we're going to cover that today.
It is very overwhelming when, we've got the possibility of potentially working with people we're never going to have met. You've got to trust them. You've got to check that, everything is consistent. And I think we've had, in such a short space of time, we've definitely had a lot of ups and downs.
Yes.
And a lot of things to share.
And lessons learned.
And lessons learned, as always. And also ways to move forward. And hopefully none of those mistakes or kind of problems come up ever again.
Yes.
All live happily in Bloomieland forever.
So let's get into it. Started off, of course, in the cafe. But it was about choosing how many products to go forward with was actually our first kind of challenge. I had quite a number of vintage bloomers that we could have went down.
Yeah.
But really I didn't really wrap my head around it. Not only does it cost quite a bit of money to actually make those patterns, but then you need to make those patterns in however many sizes you want to stock. So basically got a bit of a rude awakening.
A bit of a reality check, I think, and that's something that it wasn't, you never needed to think about this.
It wasn't in my wheelhouse.
It's also, it was a shock and a reality check for me when I started my brand as well, before we did Betty's Bloomies, because it's actually not a realistic conversation that I felt actually happened when I was at uni, and that was something that I would have thought we would have gone into maybe a bit more detail. I don't think there was really much of a focus at all after actually when you're out in the big wide world. If you don't go and work in a company and you want to be have your own brand, I actually felt like I really didn't know much about
I was so surprised when you told me that. Obviously, so Elizabeth studied fashion and has got a master's in fashion, so I would have thought obviously that will be everything, making the patterns, making the clothes, all that. Actually, for novices like me don't know, you don't do much sewing.
No,
in university, it's tailoring. If you want to learn how to sew an absolute master, tailoring is the subject you need to study.
And if you want something really specific, my first seamstress Katie, it's called Atelier, which is basically it's a much
couture.
More tailored. You're using silks and wools and very fine specific fabrics, and that's really about crafting around the body. But I would say fashion design, which is what I did for my MA, and fashion textile print, which is what I did for my BA, that was about oozing all the creativity out of you, which is such a valuable lesson, something that people can learn and be self-taught or be taught out of university, campus. But I did actually find that was a really great environment for me to learn that, because it did really it helps you become creative, get your sense of identity and all of that stuff, and you really explore your design aesthetic. But there wasn't actually a ton of sewing,
which
that
shocked me.
It's all sewing at the last minute, so I've never learned how to. I made all my own patterns for my final collection and learned how to make all of those, but everybody's making for exactly the same size model, and there's no talk of it being for anyone bigger or for certain, a very specific thing. There isn't really any kind of specialism in, when we're making the naughties, that's actually more like lingerie. It's very specific. So it was very generic, ta-da, trousers, woo, shirts, woo, and that's why I guess from before we started Betty's Bloomies together, I'd never taken anything to a factory, because actually the truth of it is I didn't really know how. They're called spec, and that's how they're made. So we kind of do a limited, less specific version of that when we have our pattern pieces, and we write down about the amount of elastic they need, and what the hem might be and the seam allowance. You basically write all the spec. It's called a spec pack, I think. Come to it now. But that's something that I didn't have a lot of experience in, so I kind of just muddled through with that. And then I guess when we started making Bloomies together, I was right, we're making this from scratch completely. So that's where we went to Katie, who helped us make our first 4 sizes of the 2 styles that we went with initially, which was the nifty and the naughty. So that's where we started. Yeah, we started with 4 sizes. That was from an affordability point of view, and also wanting to just be as inclusive as possible with getting them made in a very kind of like efficient, quick time, and so we could just get them out there basically. Because we've been talking about making them for so long, we were like, let's just go for it. 4's what we can afford, so let's just go for it.
What I love though is it feels like for me as well, I always love feeding off of people's passion and energy, and so it's been so fun as well to like be a novice and then seeing Elizabeth, like when I'm like asking, so what is that, and then it's like teacher comes in to the office.
It's me when you're learning to sew and I'm just over you like,
you're doing great, sweetie.
Yeah. just a little, you know, pointers and learning points. And it's nice, like, I've gained a lot of confidence in feeling like I actually know stuff.
Exactly. It's like, I do know what I'm
doing. Like, when you work in your industry and you're very just within yourself and you don't, you know, working so independently, it's like you don't really have the chance to talk about it or work with other people because I'm like, it's, you know, very just me in my studio. But then, you know, I've had that experience with interns and stuff, but they've still come from a fashion or textile course, so there's still like a base knowledge. Yeah, but then it's been no base knowledge. But that's been really fun for me, and I mean, literally.
I love learning.
It's made my confidence like grow so much as well, and it's also just made me feel incredibly useful, which is like validating.
Yeah.
And it also I've learned so much because I've been pushed out of my comfort zone in doing Bloomies. Like never did bottom half like garments, and then like with obviously all the disasters that happened throughout like the manufacturing process,
which we'll get into.
I've like been forced to learn a lot of stuff that I actually relied on other people for doing. So like I can only thank Bloomies for that as well.
Oh yeah!
Why do you think we ultimately went with the nifty and the naughty for the first ones that we were going to manufacture?
Well, I mean, I think that people will be a bit confused because the nices actually were the third pair that we took to Casey for pattern making. So we actually had the original have the original pattern for it.
Yeah.
But then when we realised just the sheer amount of fabric
that
it takes for the nices, because you're wrapping round, you're taking a pair of Bloomies and then you're wrapping it round in frills, it takes up quite a bit. So it felt like it was like, okay, let us get started. Like if there's the Venn diagram
I
of
was
Bloomies,
just going to say that they are the opposite on the Venn diagram.
It's literally, you are a naughty or a nifty to start with.
Yeah.
A balloony and weenie is very much a middle ground.
In the middle,
Bloomie.
and the same with the nice. They all fit in the middle.
Exactly. So I feel that like the whore of the house is over here and the little lad is over here, and so it's like
that's where we're sitting.
Exactly.
I also think, and I've just actually only just thought of this now. Wow. It's like referencing and saying that like the weenies and the balloonies and stuff are in the middle. I guess that Venn diagram. Those are like the more classic like pantaloony bloomer kind of thing, and I think actually the nifty and the naughty is like on the further end of the Bloomie spectrum, because they're almost like naughty's almost tethering into like actual underwear. And the nifty is tethering to actual just like shorts, like or more of a culotte. So they're kind of like, you know, they're on the far end, and that it really is in the middle. And I think that's how we've managed to like early on kind of expand people's minds of Bloomies. Like
exactly.
What can a Bloomie be?
Exactly, and I love that. I love the kind of especially when we do our chiffons and things like that. It does touch upon underwear, but then nifties have pockets.
Exactly, they're so
nifty.
They're so nifty, so practical. And
nifty by nature.
The naughties are obviously, we called them naughty because they're cheeky. The names came in very quickly. Like we had to have alliteration. So obviously we take a lot of time naming our fabrics, and that takes a long time. But the actual name of the naughty, nifty, nice, we wanted that like triple N straight in, like Betty's Bloomies. It's all like nice and bouncy and fun, and it did. And the nice, we were like, nice is kind of nice, but we were like, they're just nice.
They're just so nice.
They're just so nice. Like that's why they work so well. We've broken that obviously now that we do the balloony and the weenie. But the nice will always be like the nicest.
Yeah, they are.
That's what I picture in my head. But yeah, the naughties obviously they're kind of cheeky, and because they were sheer, that's why they were the naughties. But I also deem them nearly as practical as the nifties.
Literally,
they're just so practical underskirts, and just for wearing for like chub rub, or just like feeling like you just want that extra layer underneath. They're practical and stylish.
So once we decided our styles, it was then about getting the fits right. And it was always really important to continue Elizabeth's size inclusivity across to Bloomies. And Katie was using our dear friend Sarah as a fit model. And I think that this is really what's so important within manufacturing is that you can have all the measurements, you can have all of the know-how and still not come out with the right product. Because with all the measurements, and literally Katie had fit Sarah multiple times across other brands as well. And then when we saw the naughties, the fit wasn't right, the nifties, the rise wasn't right, but it was made. It gated up for that size. But I think that that's the importance again when you're just kind of giving things over to a factory. You're putting a lot of trust. You make sure that every single size has been tried on that body,
because that error could have happened on a mass scale. Like, we're so lucky that didn't happen on a mass scale at all, and we had like full control over it. But you know, I'm sure this does happen to big brands all the time, and like, you know, high street sizing is so irregular. Even in just one store, a pair of jeans might fit you in this size, but they might, even if it's in exactly the same shop in the same season, they might not fit. And
I've had stuff from brands that come back and I've literally went, who is this going to fit? What body shape is this for?
And like, that we know, there's some comfort in that we know that can happen to everyone. And also, your standard size 16, like if you think of your standard size 16, like people just hold weight in different places, no matter if you are a 16 or a 20 or like a size 8. Do you know what I mean? It's all completely different. And we have like a biased bottom heavy view, meaning Sherry, because that's just like our body type.
Both of us get ass.
But exactly, which is literally fantastic. But you know, we wanted to make sure that, you know, they fit everyone in every single way. So pretty much anyone we could get to try on Bloomies, we were like, can you just try these on?
Literally.
See.
And as well, even down to like getting the measurements of our seamstress Catherine as well. And then we realised, well, like there's 2 sizes between me and Catherine, but yet we have the same size of thigh.
Yeah, that's it. The weight is just carried differently, and we have a lot of leniency with Bloomies being elasticated, which is great because it is a less structured garment, but we still did have those early challenges of making sure that we didn't want the elastic to be on like max capacity, because it's, you know, we're putting all the shirring into the naughties for that gathering. I mean, even the same with the Bloonies and stuff, like we still want some snatch.
Absolutely.
Basically. So yeah, it was about working through all of that, which I think I can confidently say now I'm really happy with. I think there's still always a few tweaks where I'm like, maybe that could just a little bit, and it's just about working it out in a way that means that we can still have sales coming in at a good like kind of pace, and we're really happy with how those are going, and then still improving in the background.
Absolutely.
Which
I
is
think
the
that's
way to do it.
Exactly, and it's like we literally do that with every single pair we make. We you know, really think about how can we improve, is this as best as they can be. And like, you know, when we find specific fabrics that just work super well, we found this gorgeous mushroom fabric for the shoot, and it was a little bit out of our usual colour palette, but the sensory touch of it was just stunning.
It was such a rich, like iridescent mauvey kind of colour. What mushroom, it was just divine, and like that was a risk for us to make it in a 2XL because our main customer is not a 2XL. So it was like, you know, not only is this a genuine vintage fabric that we adore and is in a neutral colour, so we knew it would sell well. It's like we knew we wanted it for the shoot because we wanted the shoot to really show off the best that Bloomies can be, and that fabric really was it. And then they sold straight away.
Literally the first pair that went out of that photo shoot collection. But also it's meant that we're now like kind of on the hunt when we're out and about. We want more fabric like that because it really shows off like the shapes so beautifully.
You okay? Suddenly not well.
You're not going to get it right every single time. We've had some fabrics that like really don't work well, so it really, finding the fabrics that work really helps streamline the manufacturing process.
Yes, definitely. I'm looking forward to that. 2025 being a lot more streamlined.
Exactly. And now we know there's some fabrics we're just like, yeah, never again.
Yeah, we'll have to be just like a bit more controlled of being like, no.
We love it.
Fabric. We know it's not going to work. We'll let it have its other home and its other purpose.
Exactly.
And any fabrics we have got that we know don't work, we'll just go back into like a charity shop. We know we're not just going to like bin them. They'll go back into a scrap store, charity shop, anything like that. We'll just be donating them.
Because it's manufacturing, not everything goes to plan.
No.
And yeah, the struggle was real when it came to Bloomies manufacturing for quite a number of reasons. Yeah. But to be honest, none of it, or majority of it, wasn't actually to do with the making of the clothes. The majority of it was the finding of the people who can make the clothes.
And like communicating and maintaining that working relationship as well. So yeah, finding people is, you know, quite hard because, you know, you've got to find someone that's for a very specific kind of skill set. They've got to have the right equipment. We wanted it to be made in Margate, so we're literally coming from like a tiny pool of people.
It's like, first you were dumped in the street while I was in Glasgow after selling out our second pre-order.
Yes.
So we just found out, she was going to finish this pre-order,
yeah,
but then
so
that was
those
it.
were all made, and then that was it. So no more
Manufacturing
Bloomies
a whole.
after that.
Then you put your call out.
Yeah.
We found someone who said that they could do all the things, had all the equipment, all of the experience and then some.
Yeah, seemed like, you know, my type on paper vibes.
Literally, and it was a disaster.
I spent so much time just contacting like actual just like alterations, seamstresses, asking around any kind of shop I could. Does anybody know like anyone that can just do cut and sew, like a little mini kind of factory line? Like I don't just want one custom outfit. It needs to be like the consistency of it and have all of that space and also that flexibility. That's the thing. We weren't looking to take on someone in a full-time role for our manufacturing. We weren't at that stage. We weren't doing Bloomies full-time at all at that stage. So it's like we couldn't just offer someone a straight-up salary. And I think that's like a really good thing to kind of take away from this episode is that you don't have to have all the big things at once. Like you don't need to guarantee someone that massive. Like we're not taking a salary. No one else is taking that. That's not the business model. That's not the level that we're at yet. It is really small bits of growth, and those are all really valid. It's a really valid way to start a business and do something that you really, really love and are passionate about and makes other people happy. So we were looking for that flexibility, which also makes it a lot smaller. But luckily, I think we do have an advantage with living in Margate, whereas like other towns don't have as many creative people.
Yes, we are really lucky with that.
We are also a very small, sleepy kind of seaside town. So
that goes to show that sometimes the right option isn't always the right option. Because where Meg lacked in experience, she was gained in organisation,
passion,
structure, passion,
understanding the vision,
and
massively.
all those other things. And so we obviously at the time thought, no, we need experience, we need someone who
someone that could come straight in, like
get it done like Katie.
We thought that day would be, you know, by working on them for one day, would know exactly what to do, because that's what I would anticipate a confident seamstress. And that's actually, I had so much anxiety about it.
Yeah.
I said to Katie, like, when she dumped me, I was like, I didn't even know how to make them. And obviously I can work out how to make them, and I would know.
But that's not the business model that we work against.
The business model, because we're busy doing the marketing and everything else, the business model is that other people produce them, and we want to create that level of employment. Like, that's a really fun thing for us, and like a really important thing to keep creatives in Margate and keep people actually not having to go and do a job that they don't want to do. Like, I want people to have an income from doing something that they love. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll have to do them, or maybe I'll have to show someone how to make them. And Katie was like, I reassure you, anyone that's good enough to make them will know how to make them. Because I was like, can I pay you to teach someone new how to make them? Like, I'm like so stressed about it. And like, it's like, with all the pattern pieces are there, you have everything you need. If they're like a seamstress, they will be able to do it. Like, this is literally the job. And I suppose that's coming into any job. If you qualified for it, you should really know how to do it. And so I, that put me at ease a little bit, but obviously was just like kind of really worrying, but felt like that was the best option in the time like that we had. Trying to find someone in January for like a brand new job seemed like really bleak. Like, Margate is a very there's nothing going on in January. But that was what was going on, and that's what we went with. And it, honestly, like, I remember that phone call to you, and I was like, I found someone, it's all gonna be fine.
And the relief, but then also
the relief was replaced with just panic and anxiety and like constantly feeling like
chasing her tail.
Nothing was going smoothly at all. And like, I know that this could happen to anyone on a larger scale, and to actually have face-to-face conversations. You're not working with different time zones where you've got to kind of like have a digital Zoom meeting with someone on the other side of the world making something for you, where you've actually never met them, you haven't seen the working conditions, and you don't actually have a friendship as a base level, because that's what we do want, and we have had that with everyone as well. It never got really nasty or anything. It's just like, actually, if someone can't do the job.
Exactly. It was just, I think it was stressful for both parties as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know when you're like messy people, but you know it's organised mess?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what everything is? That is us as people. Like, both of us are chaos, but our chaos meshes well together, and it doesn't...
We want to be here, we want to show up, so we make it work.
But then when it comes to the manufacturing thing, and we're paying for that service.
Yes,
but
exactly.
that's also messy and chaotic.
That's
it then adds the stress.
Yeah, that's fundamentally not working. That was the difference as well. Like, we are paying you for this service, like, whereas like we're not getting paid. If we fuck up, that's on us. That's
exactly.
our own time to undo it. But yeah, when you've been told something's going to happen and it's going to be at this level, and absolutely I can do it, and then it absolutely wasn't done.
Well, if things come back, and
it fucked us up so much. It's taken us so, like, I hate to, and I really, like, this isn't my mindset at all, but it's worth, like, noting while we're talking about, like, I hate to think of where Bloomies could be if we'd have had that smooth part.
Yeah.
We've had that, and it just carried on from that, November when we sold out again. Like, I do think we would be in a more fruitful position. I think everything would have, like,
it wouldn't have been
progressed.
Stop-start.
Yeah, there was a lot of stop-start.
Because really we didn't end up coming into our own again until, like, September.
Yeah, really. We had a bit of it in June, and then it kind of, like, came back down after, like, we didn't get everything we wanted for the pop-up and stuff, and naughty production. Like, everything was just really fragmented. But now it's kind of
everything's streamlined and calm, and so it took us over a year, basically, from losing Katie to then get back into her stride.
Yeah.
But I think that is, like, something to always keep in mind when it comes to manufacturing, is that, like, I mean, well, one, you won't always get it right, but two, like, roll with the punches a bit more, because, like, things did come to a natural end. It did feel right. Basically, we were let down again because of timing.
It wasn't even the baseline of professionalism.
No.
And that was a multiple of things as well. Yeah, we were just like, actually, we don't work in the same way, and,
the way that we work doesn't complement each other.
Yeah, and it was stressing all three of us out.
And meanwhile, Meg was really stepping up as well.
She
like,
really
every
wanted to be
pair of
a part of
nifties
it
that she was
and
bringing
getting
back were
better.
better and better and better. She was asking, like, can I take the patterns home for the naughties to just give it a try?
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just like, that passion, that willingness, and, like, that means so much more. Like, she, like, encompasses everything about Bloomies, and so does Catherine. And it
so
really
lucky.
feels that, like, I know we're so lucky. Like, that's why I do think that, like, everything happens for a reason. Yeah.
And we have really got, like, the perfect combo now, which, like, well, I guess we're very lucky for that, really. And, like, I think all of us are really happy, and part of our responsibility as, like, the business owners is to make sure that everybody's happy, and like, how we want to keep, I'm questioning, like, how can we make this better, not only as the product, but also make their experience better. And that is about us learning about, like, okay, we need to have our shit together, because actually we don't want to give them random little bits of fabric. We want to have, like, we take photos of the laces that go with the certain fabrics, because there can be errors between, like, I think that this is a mushroom colour, but someone else might call it grey, or they might call it slate, or they might think it's lilac. Like, when fabrics are in different lightings, and, different people have different ways of describing them, I might say that's, like, a really, like, medium weight fabric, and other people might, not see that, or it's right at the bottom of the bag, so it's missed, and when it's such, like, small pieces and one-off pieces, there's easily mistakes to be made in regards
especially
to
when you get stupid names like us.
Yeah, and we're
like, what about, oh no, sparkle, what's sparkle sugar plum?
No,
against.
Why this is the lace for this, and it's like, well, they're both pink fabric and they're both pink laces, like, why? Like,
what's sugar plum and what is, like, snow fairy or whatever?
And it's like, we don't make it easy in that sense, so we're always trying to adapt in that way. So
but they also get a kick out of it.
Yeah. If you love it, you love it. Like, and we can tell that they love the process of it, and they understand how much joy it gives us and how much joy we're passing on to customers as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were always trying to make things a bit more organised. Like, I just loved how they did the spreadsheet for us, where, like, they both organised the spreadsheet, so there was, like, so where it says, like, obviously size, style, the date that it came in, the date it was expected, they put, like, a notes section in, a drop down of,
they've made us more organised by them being more organised.
Inspired me to use Excel. Everything was handwritten. Nothing was official.
See, I started the spreadsheet, but I'm not as I just started in a general, like, order number, style, fabric, notes, and then we just opened up one day and it was all colour coordinated, and there's drop down files,
and it will say whether it's been cut, whether it's been, like, overlooked,
what stage it's at, and when how much fabric's left,
and whether
over.
we've taken it home, and when it's all complete, a little orange heart. It's just, I mean,
when everything else is pink and an orange heart,
you wouldn't
get
this
attention
anywhere
to
else.
detail.
You wouldn't get this anywhere else. So, like, that's why it's, like, such a joy project.
We've learned one thing as well about production. It's just, like, if you're not gonna shout about it, then don't expect people to come running.
Yes,
a la
absolutely.
the matey caps.
The matey caps. yeah, we haven't really given them the focus that they deserved either.
And the reason why we didn't give them the focus of what they deserved is because the production, some of the joy was taken out of it, and we are such joy-fueled humans.
Yeah, I need to absolutely love it, and if I'm not like, I'm so happy with the matey caps, but we actually...
It was they say the joy was in the journey. The joy wasn't within this journey.
Not that journey. I think also we never quite got the shots that we wanted in time to promote with the headshots that we wanted.
Yeah.
So there was like a delay with the photo shoot and getting some headshots back of us wearing the matey caps, and then, you know, so many other things had already happened. Like we had them at the pop-up, so kind of people knew they were kind of there at the pop-up, and then
we sold some of the pop-up.
We sprinkled little bits of matey cap information, but we never gave them, like, they're still not on the Elizabeth Wibley shop grid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they haven't had their own space, and I think, yeah, that the Capris never had that either. It's like, stories actually are very much something that everyone should be keeping an eye on, because sometimes we do just say something once, and we might put something up for sale once, and then it's like, we don't mention it ever again.
Literally.
We're kind of a bit silly with that, but that's also because, you know, we don't do... Now, we've been doing Bloomies full-time recently, but we generally, over the last, like, year and a half, haven't been doing Bloomies full-time. Like, our income comes from other sources as well. So it's like, you know, actually having a brand's Instagram is a full-time job in itself. So we have really been trying to, like...
And we've been keeping it all on Elizabeth's as well. We've still not even launched the Bloomieland.
The Bloomieland actual Instagram. That's something that's going to be happening behind the scenes. Hopefully when you're listening to this, we'll be
Well,
there.
hopefully it will be, because I think that, like, and I think a lot of business owners will not even business owners, I think a lot of people will relate. It's that, like, sometimes you just get so in your head, and especially when it's like starting a whole new account.
Yeah.
And we do literally say, at least once a day, post it, you silly bitch.
Post it, you silly
We need
bitch.
to get some t-shirts for just even us, just like, post it, you silly bitch,
it's
for
just
reminders.
like, I'm so bad at like I'll overthink and then I won't post, or I'll think, oh, I'll just get it done later, and then it never happens. And working with you's definitely made me post more, because there was like a big period of time where like I just wasn't really posting regularly at all, because I never want it to feel forced. I always want to post because I actually love doing it, and like Instagram and like social media being so online would actually... Most of the time when we're not posting, it's because we're too fucking busy doing the actual thing. We're doing the doing, like the real living. So I think, yeah, it's like posting is a big part of like posting the content, and like advertising is a big part of like actually getting more sales. And we really notice how much like we've been pushing the festive collection, and like the sales have been coming in.
I know.
The Bloomies had such good like marketing, and that's really helped, and then that made like, you know, more orders come in as well. And that actually, all of the more orders there is, the more we're kind of like, the business is growing and the manufacturing becomes smoother, and we're learning things along the way.
Absolutely.
And we're like, you know, building the team and building the confidence and stuff. And I think another thing I want to mention, because it's kind of like the capris, is like, we wanted to do like full length trousers, and
we ordered the customs.
Yeah,
a customer ordered.
They were brat pantaloonies. Yeah, so it was like the brat colour that we had, but full length nifty, so they had the tie at the bottom.
Real.
And yeah, she absolutely loved them. I know that she wanted another pair, and I'm like, we haven't even got round to sorting it all out, but you know, we will. That's one of the things that never made it into full production. That's
but we want it, we'd love it for next year. Still on the sidelines,
it absolutely will. I'm sure it will happen. Like, that's something that's achievable for us next year with everything that we've learned this year. Improvement was a big part of the manufacturing process, and always wanting to make sure that our product was the best that it could be, as premium as it could be, bearing in mind all the other factors. So obviously the cost price to us and the cost price as a consumer, because we don't want to price anyone out. So we want it to be the best made product it can be, but with like a realistic expectation, basically.
Exactly.
And I think there was a few things along the way, and it was also about the image and how it actually like physically looked on the body as well. Yeah. So one of the things that we did really recently, apart from updating all the size guide and changing that and making it from 4 sizes to 6 sizes, was changing the exposed elastic on the inside of the first pair of weenies that we made.
Which were these ones?
We made it into a channel instead, and that's what we'd actually quite like to do with the balloonies, but that needs a bit of like tinkering, checking again that that's definitely actually the best solution, because it does change the overall look having a channel. There's 2 lines of stitching. It will change how it looks. So again, it's like, that's an idea in our head, and is that actually worth doing? And that's something that like we've thought about with the fit of all of them in general, the fabric that we're using, and also pockets. We had so many discussions where you were like, I think pockets should be in this style, and I was like, no, I don't think pockets should be in any of them. And I was like happy for the nifty tab pockets, and then like we were like trialing having pockets in balloonies. A lot of customers had asked for pockets in balloonies if they'd had their pockets in the nifties, but it's like, if you've got, like I'm wearing balloonies actually, if you've got pockets in the balloonies, if there's something heavy in there, it collapses the balloony shape. So it's like, that wasn't really ever going to work.
And there's literally not enough room. The pocket would be down out here. So there's no room. Yeah. So they're too teeny weeny.
They're so tiny. I do feel like we have always tried to kind of consider how like adaptable Bloomies can kind of be.
Definitely.
Just to mention sizing again, so when I said that we took it from 4 sizes to 6 sizes, generally how brands I think would work is they would only go up to, let's say, like a size 16 or 18 or 20, and then if they were going to extend their sizing or update their size guide, then they would maybe add on more sizes. Whereas what we did is we wanted it to always cover from like a UK size 6 up until like a UK size 24. So we actually had larger size brackets. So when it came, so we still encompassed all of those size people, but when it came to improving and updating the size guide, what we actually did was we slotted in 2 new sizes instead of making, so we still went up to like approximately UK size 24, but we basically made the difference in the size and shape of each individual Bloomie smaller. So I hope this makes sense. I can always like visualize in my head, and we had so many discussions where it's like, how are we gonna do this? And I was like, no, it needs to like, it was just like such a difficult time.
There was so much math,
and that was one of the all in really different ways as well. Like,
I'm not a numbers person, and I also I've got dyspraxia, and so like I literally like as soon as numbers start, it's like I literally just start hearing white noise, and I remember she was trying to talk me through it, and literally I remember I actually texted her in the evening. Because I was literally thinking about it the whole night. Yeah. Because obviously it's frustrating because she literally said it in like 6 different ways, and I'm still like, still not following. And it's like, there's nothing you can do to make me understand it. And then it was literally like, oh my God! I got it. Yeah, you need the 2 sizes.
Yeah. It was like, the only way I could describe it is like, so we basically, instead of making it extra small to small, we just made it extra small, one size, small, one size, medium, large. So we basically met the new sizes that we technically made, were like kind of in the middle. So the XL was new, the 2XL was completely readapted, and then the medium and the large, like I can't even remember which one exactly was, but yeah, we basically like shimmied up some new ones in, and that's how I like changed the size guide, and all the rise changed after different fittings with Sarah, and Rachel also tried someone as well, and that was in May, and that's when like I did feel confident in the patterns before.
So much more confident though.
But Katie had made all of those, so I feel like I hadn't actually taken a lot of responsibility myself to check the pattern pieces, and we actually there wasn't the time to actually do that until May, and then we took some time, actually spent like a good week and a half analysing every pattern, being like, how can this be better? How can this fit people better? So yeah, that was I think that was the biggest, most draining job of the whole part of Bloomies, but obviously that's like,
I felt so bad because I just couldn't be helped.
It's so fundamental. Yeah, I think I literally was like, I just need a few days by myself.
Literally.
Because otherwise you try and talk to me and I'm like, numbers.
And I'm like,
So with that new adapted size guide, obviously we're really hoping that actually, it means it included the same amount of people, but it fits all of those people better.
Literally.
Than the first round that we'd done previously when we only had 4 sizes. So that was what that was really all about. And the size guide is, the size guide is based off your waist measurements, low hip, and then your hip, which is the widest point. So the waist and the hip is the most important measurements of it. And we do, we have said before that if you really want the waist, like the elastic size, to actually fit your waist perfectly, it's no bother and no extra effort at all for us to just cut the elastic to your exact waist size. So even if you are a medium but you want the waist elastic a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, you can just let us know, because that all fits in the size of the shorts. And you wouldn't get that with any other brand.
Exactly. That is the beauty about being a small fashion business, because we are working with our seamstresses, we are talking to them daily. Yeah. We can do custom sizes for, that is us at the end of the day. We are silly and frilly for everybody. End of discussion.
The customer, if you get in contact with us, we will treat you as an individual thing. That product is for you. So if you want those little tweaks, people email about extra frills and stuff all the time.
Extra frills. We had this customer who came to us with the most body, and it was like this mini in a fucking big glorious arse, and we were just like, yes, we cannot
accommodate, obviously.
Can you send pics?
We never got pics. We never asked for pics, but we imagined.
We're like, you're gonna look sensational.
No, absolutely. Like, Bloomies are made for shaking your ass.
Oh, 100%. They encourage.
So, you know, because she fell, even though she was technically in our size guide, she was, you know, between a 6 and a UK 24. The difference in her waist and her hips were really over across like 2 or 3 sizes. So, you know, that was like a case of like, okay, we actually need to, it's more than just the elastic here, it's about the pattern pieces as well, so we do that extra. And if you were like a lot shorter or taller, or there was any other kind of like additional extra needs that you wanted, or you're bigger than a UK 24 and you fall out of our, like if you're bigger than our size guide, like we absolutely can make Bloomies for you. You just need to email, just select custom size, and we will make it done.
Exactly.
But we say custom,
we mean custom! So I think the main takeaway when it comes to manufacturing is that, like, if it feels like it's not working, it's not working. Yeah. Just change it.
Yeah.
I feel like you can't feel like you're stuck in one thing. And I think that if I could go back and give us any advice from the last year, it was that we should have let go sooner when we really felt like it wasn't working. The end products were still gorgeous, but the timing, the communication, the organisation, the
struggle to get them there.
To get them there was really, really, really tough. And so having that was actually filtering out into the rest of the business.
Yeah.
All that anxiety, all that and stress. And so it wasn't the joy that it is.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely advise to go and try something different, even though that would have meant putting production on halt again.
Yeah, exactly. Like the main thing that came down to is communicating and always being respectful to like ourselves and to Karma. But the best thing we could have done was to let that kind of slide instead of us all just like not enjoying it, really struggling and just like
really trying.
You know, when you just don't want to come to work, and like the reason we want to make Bloomies is because we want to be happy and do a job that we love, and we want people to have a job that they love, and that wasn't the case. And it did set us back in like kind of like, but actually ultimately only short time, because we did only keep it going for so long, and then we've obviously come up with a better way of working now with Meg and Catherine. But definitely a lesson learned.
So now on to our chaos question! My chaos question is, when it comes to breaking up with a business person.
Such a good question.
And like managing, because you've had that professional relationship, but you've tried to, like, you made it this kind of like friendly relationship. How do you manage that?
That's such a good question. Let's have a little think.
I think you did very, very well with your professionalism.
Yes, I obviously, like, I'm a very emotive person anyways, but I'm also quite good at, I would suppress how I felt to make someone else feel more comfortable in that moment, and then, really go away, then articulate how I kind of felt. And I think I never actually really did that, because I was like, there's no point.
Yeah.
There's no point. Like, we're not gonna, this is with Katie, like, we're not gonna work together again. Like, she knew I was disappointed. She knew that massively fucked me over, and I could have been like, this has fucked me up beyond belief. That's how I felt. Not even from a Bloomies point of view, but just from, like, my brand's point of view. And it still has fucked me up. But I'm also just, like, my mindset in general is, like, well, there's so many things that have gone on where I'm, like, I'm very resilient. So it's, like, I'm just kind of, like, well, just on to the next thing. Like, I'm always looking for the solution instead of, like, making the problem bigger and digging myself a hole of despair. Like,
that's all Bloomies.
I don't like people feeling sorry for me. So, like, I'd rather just be like, oh, fuck, like, that was so shit, and I'm really fucking pissed off, and that's fucked me off, but I'm just gonna move on, find the next solution, and literally just, like, keep adapting. And I think actually being freelance, being self-employed, like, you have to have that as your skill and as your mindset, or you're going to really, really, really struggle.
100%.
I mean, I've never been sacked from a job.
No.
So I don't know how it feels to be, like, sacked from a regular job. But I think actually in some ways, when it's two freelance people, two self-employed people that have like built a business and built a team together, it makes it so much harder, because you know all the ins and outs of that person, you know how they work, you spend so many hours together. So it is like a big breakup. But I think handling it, just with respect, really make sure you're making the right decision. because you would never want to, you know, say it too early in like a big bust up and then actually regret it and then have to repair that relationship, I think.
How would you recommend doing it? Through face-to-face, text, email, ghosting? Don't ghost.
Never ghost.
Manufacturing.
Face-to-face is probably what a lot of people would deem as like the most like respectful and like genuine, but a lot of people aren't very good with their words, or they're not very confident with saying how they actually feel. So I think if you feel easier to write it into an email, that's actually probably what I would maybe do, or I'd definitely have to journal and write it all down first, and then I think I'd say it in person. But I think you just have to bear in mind the time of day. You never want to do it at like 9 p.m. in the night time when you're just like having a lovely time, or on the weekend or something.
That's such a good bit of advice. Like, don't do it first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Don't do it last thing at night.
No.
Don't do it on a Friday. Don't do it on a Monday morning.
I think doing it
choose your time.
Anytime anyone gets any big news, like sometimes there is no choice. You just get fucking shit news as and when it comes. You know what I mean? But I think when you've had a good like long-standing relationship or friendship or whatever, like, just doing it in the most kind way, because you know it's going to really fuck up, and actually just like keeping it really civil right until the very end, because there's so much admin that has to happen after that. Like, obviously you've still got to pay remaining invoices, you've still got to communicate, you've got to take back your stock, you've got to organise so many things, so you can't like have a big like, well, you could, but I wouldn't recommend it. You can't just like have a big argument about it, because everybody moves on. I always want people to move on and grow, and like if they feel like
things,
exactly, if they want to change up what they're doing, like that's always, because that's what I would do. I'm always like adapting and like shifting and, you know, doing different things, so I understand that anyone I would work with would do that. So that long answer, but yeah, that was it. Yeah, hopefully that never happens ever again.
Hopefully it'll be useful to someone who's maybe might be in a sticky situation.
In a sticky situ. Okay, my chaos question is, if you could only pick 2 styles to go ahead with, which is obviously what we did originally anyway, now that we have 5 styles, 6 kind of if you include the boxer as well, which 2 would you have gone into manufacturing with for the first 2 styles, knowing everything we know now? So you'll still ultimately get them all at this stage, but which would you start with?
Knowing everything I know now, just for the sales, I would say Naughty and Weenie.
Yeah.
I would say Naughty and Weenie, because I feel like they're the most popular styles. Even though my heart belongs to Nifty.
Yeah, I'm saying all that, would you not even consider doing the Nices as one of the first ones? Even though we haven't technically launched those. Or just, you'd stick with the weenies?
I would stick with the weenies.
Yeah.
I would stick with the weenies. I feel like the weenies are such a good gateway to Bloomies.
Yeah.
And they're just really, really fun and silly, and I feel that like the Nices are very much a certain type of person. Whereas everyone can wear a weenie.
Everyone can wear a weenie.
They're a teeny weenie.
See, I think kind of differently. I think more people would wear a nice, because it's like it's such like a skirt. Yeah. If I was gonna pick, I would pick naughties and nices. They would be my starting 2. But alas, that wasn't how we did it on our journey.
And that's been our journey with manufacturing.
Wow, what a journey
has
been
a journey. Definitely for me, the key takeaways are, if it's broke, then fix it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't try and keep on pushing that boulder up the hill. It's just going to roll back and smack you in the face.
Yeah.
And stay true to like what you've always been about. And for us, that's silly and frilly for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're kind of thinking of starting your own brand, or you're at the kind of crossroads of your brand and you need to redefine it, like really think about what those key like important things are, like your ethos, your sustainability, your production. What does your brand stand for? And we've never really swayed away from that with Bloomies, and we're always going to keep on improving and adapting the best that we can. I went out. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of
Created in Chaos. Hope you've enjoyed this episode, and just make sure to like and subscribe.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Tea.
This has fucked me up, bitch.
Yay!